is white kids descended of Jesus that Christian love our local church. I want to be faithful to Jesus Christ.
So with that, let me jump in here. I'm going to pull one slide up to harken back to, I think, some of the main findings from our pre-election survey, and that is this, the economic anxieties that we saw going into the election. So these are two findings from the pre-election survey that we were in the field back in August. And two striking things. One, at that time, more than 7 in 10 Americans told us that they thought that the recession was still on, that we were still in a recession. About 4 in 10 Americans are living in what we classified as either high or moderate economic anxiety households. Right, and then we measure that by a number of things like not being able to pay a bill on time, reducing meals for economic reasons, those sorts of things. So about 4 in 10 Americans in some significant economic distress. In this survey, we asked about some other things that I think contribute to the kind of general anxieties that people brought into the election. We had two questions on this survey. One was about concerns about Ebola, and one was concerns about terrorism. So in the kind of lead up to the election, we had a lot of press around ISIS, and sort of acts of brutality, and we also had a lot of press around Ebola. And we asked some questions that were very personal questions. So these questions, we didn't say, are you generally worried about terrorism? Are you generally worried about Ebola? We phrased this in a very personal way. How worried are you that you or someone in your family will be a victim of terrorism? Right, so very personal question. Among all Americans, you'll see about a third of Americans said that they were at least somewhat worried that they or someone in their family would be a victim of terrorism. And if you look at the party breaks here, you'll see that there's not a lot of differences between Democrats and independents in the general population, and even Republicans stand out a little bit. But the group that really stands out here are members of the Tea Party here. So that number, we got 61% of those who identify with the Tea Party say that they are at least somewhat worried that they or someone in their family will be a victim of terrorism. We asked a similar question about Ebola. How worried are you that you or someone in your family will be infected by Ebola? More than 1 in 5 Americans, 22%, said that they were at least somewhat worried that they or someone in their family would be infected with Ebola. So these are kind of, in addition to the economic anxieties, we had a significant number of Americans carrying these other kinds of anxieties into the election as well. And the patterns for the Ebola question were roughly the same here. Here's the other side. You can see the people who are not too worried on these questions as well. All right, so all of this adds up to a pretty pessimistic public heading into, and a kind of anxious public heading into the elections. And on this kind of basic question that's been asked, has a long pedigree in polling: is the country heading in the right direction, or is it off on the wrong track? One of the things we found is that 6 in 10 Americans in the post-election survey say no, the country is off on the wrong track. And when we look even at some of the sort of strongest supporters of the president and Democrats themselves, nearly 4 in 10 say that the country's off on the wrong track. And if you look at, I've got young adults, I've got women, men, seniors, independents, Tea Parties, and Republicans, and you look at these numbers for everyone else, right? They are up around 6 in 10 or more. That includes young adults, by the way. We'll be coming back to young adults, but 6 in 10 young adults saying the country's off on the wrong track, 6 in 10 women, and it just goes up from there. So that's a pretty negative mood for the country to be in headed in the election.